This is Point FM's nightly news for Monday, the 22nd day of January 2018. The National Democratic Alliance points a finger at the opposition United Progressive Party for being behind the publication of a photo of its candidate holding a shotgun. The Barbudan MP says there is no way he will remove his name from a foundation he created. The Caribbean Tourism Association encouraged by registration from this month's Caribbean Travel Marketplace, and the U.S. government partial shutdown is set to end following the approval of a temporary funding bill. Thank you so much for joining us this Monday evening. I am Phil George. The Democratic National Alliance is this evening standing by its candidate, Caris Barton, whose photo has surfaced in the media showing him holding a shotgun. Barton was recently unveiled by the DNA as their candidate who will contest the St. Philip's South constituency seat. The photo has sparked a conversation on whether Barton is suitable, after all, to delve into politics and whether the DNA will remove him from their slate of candidates. But in an interview with Point FM's Nightly News, former Senator and Executive Member of the DNA, Anthony Stewart, said they're satisfied with Barton's explanation regarding the firearm and the party will move ahead with him.
We are comfortable and satisfied with the explanation. We have, before we came to the public all yesterday, we made some telephone calls, we checked certain things out to ensure from what we could discern that the truth was being told, and we have no reason really to not believe him, but we just wanted to be comfortable. But as I said, if anything was to surface afterwards that put what he has said to us to be a lie, I can tell you the Democratic National Alliance will look for a new candidate. But as of now, we are comfortable with it.
Stewart stated that the DNA is in no way supporting the use of guns or gun violence, noting that the party believes this is the action of the opposition United Progressive Party.
We are confident that where this came from the blue corner in the constituency of St. Philip's South, is that individual up there realized that we would have placed in that constituency a candidate that the people can trust, not a candidate who runs from constituency to constituency, a candidate who is from that area. In fact, he's from the Piccadilly Liberta side, very close. He has roots in the Bethesda area. And the candidate up there in the blue corner, Chester Hughes, he is morbidly afraid of such a young person.
According to the DNA executive, the photograph was taken approximately 8 years ago while Barton was vacationing overseas. It was while entering a shoe store he reportedly saw the security with a shotgun. After requesting to hold the firearm, the security guard reportedly disarmed it before allowing Barton to hold it for a photo opportunity. Senator Anthony Stewart believes Barton understands the concerns being expressed, and while acknowledging the blunder, the DNA executive said the candidate intends to turn this latest development into a positive.
This faux pas, as he said, that he did years ago and coming back now to more or less disturb his political entry onto the political arena, he told us, the leadership of the Democratic National Alliance, that he's going to make this here a campaign mantra where he's going to speak to his peers, the young people, and tell them to make sure what they do now, be careful of their actions now, because it could have rippling repercussions in the future. So he's going to use it as a teaching point for young people. And I found that to be so magnanimous of a young man to be caring that he doesn't want nobody else to go through such an ordeal that he is going through now.
That's former Senator and Executive of the DNA, Anthony Stewart. Minister of Barbuda Affairs Arthur Knibb says a foundation established in his name will continue to seek assistance on behalf of the Sister Isle, despite reports that the charity is not registered with the Intellectual Property Office. Nibs, in an interview with Pointe FM, noted that contrary to reports in certain sections of the media, the foundation has filed the necessary paperwork and is awaiting word from the relevant authorities. He has described the newspaper article as much to do about nothing, adding that they will continue to seek assistance for the rebuilding of Barbuda.
The necessary papers are at the intellectual properties with respect to registering the foundation. So that's correct. We have not yet fully registered, but that does not preclude us from going on to do our works, because we're set about to look for material and assistance to help the people rebuild. And that's exactly what we're doing. Well, what could be sinister about it? We did the presentation on ABS with full view of the public. There's nothing to hide. So it's a foundation established in my name to look about the interests of the people of Barbuda, and that's all it is.
The Barbudan MP pointed out that though the charity bears his name, he is not involved in the daily operations, since a 5-member board is in place to handle the affairs. Asked whether he will consider removing his name from the foundation, Minister Nibs bluntly rejected the notion.
No doubt. It's about Arthur Nibs. It's about my legacy. I've done a lot of work since I was a small guy coming up in politics, and I intend to leave a legacy, so the Arthur Nibs Foundation will remain.
Nibs has promised to follow up on the progression of the application at the Intellectual Property Office. He believes it is important so as to not to give persons the idea that the foundation is involved in illegal activities. Consultation on the decriminalization of marijuana will recommence on Tuesday, involving the government, religious organizations, the Rastafarian community, the health department and other interest groups. This latest round of discussions will be held at Parliament Building commencing at 9 in the morning and will be spearheaded by a parliamentary select committee. The decriminalization of marijuana in small quantities via the Misuse of Drugs Amendment Bill 2017 had its first reading in Parliament on December 28th. It was at that time the bill was sent to the Select Committee for further consultation with the public. Previous consultations were held in 2017, but Attorney General the Honourable Steadroy Benjamin agrees that more discussion will be of great benefit to the people in understanding the purpose of the decision being made. Once the consultations have ended, a final bill will be presented to the Parliament for debate and subsequent passage. Earlier this month, Prime Minister Gaston Brown declared that once consultations on the decriminalization on the use of marijuana have ended, his government will move expeditiously to decriminalize the use of marijuana. The Prime Minister also stated that it is his government's intention to eventually move from decriminalization to the legalization of marijuana for medicinal use. 3 Antiguan butlers attached to Sandals Grand Antigua Resort and Spa are now in the Bahamas, sharing their expertise with staff at Sandals Royal Bahamian Luxury Resort in Nassau. Kevin Christopher, Sheldon Gomes, and Darren Joseph are employed as butlers at Sandals Grand Antigua Resort and Spa and were handpicked to travel to the sister hotel in Bahamas to help beef up the butler team there. Trained by the Guild of Professional English Butlers at Sandals, the butler service is regarded as the epitome of guest service and satisfaction. Sandals Grand General Manager Gaurav Sindhi recommended the 3 young men for the assignment, noting that Sandals creates opportunities for growth and travel for many of its employees. He said they provide the high level of service that is expected at Sandals, but they also go above and beyond to make the guests satisfied. Cindy noted that it is his belief the 3 Antiguan butlers will be an asset to the team in the Bahamas and will develop further and become better team members as a result of the experience. Prime Minister the Honourable Gaston Brown has revealed that several private entities believed to be overseas based have approached his government with requests to establish cryptocurrency operations in Antigua. Though he did not get into much detail, Prime Minister Brown stated that as recent as last week, he met and held discussions on a proposal presented by a businessman. The Prime Minister stated that in order for cryptocurrency operations to be domiciled in Antigua, legislative framework must first be in place. He has signaled his intention to position Antigua and Barbuda to benefit from this new form of financial service.
Now, that is the direction in which the world is going, and that blockchain technology is now being utilized to provide financial services. So we want to make sure that we're at the cutting edge of technology and that we can position Antigua and Barbuda to benefit from this very promising industry. Obviously, it comes with some risk, and what we're seeking to do here is to make sure at least that we have the regulations in place in order to curb or at least maybe mitigate against any nefarious actor or actors who may want to utilize our jurisdiction, utilizing what is clearly a new technology, very promising one, and one that is the technology of the future.
The head of government opined that the need for a more effective payment system, especially among governments, will ensure the rise of cryptocurrencies.
You will find that between nations that they will utilize blockchain technology, cryptocurrencies to settle, especially when you look at the whole issue of de-risking, and that is becoming more and more difficult to move money. In fact, there is a particular currency that dominates global trade. And, sometimes the geopolitics is such that if they have difficulties with a particular country, then they create sanctions and make it difficult for them to move money. So I think those issues in terms of the geopolitics between nations and overall demand to have, let's say, a more efficient payment system will support the rise of these type of technologies, cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology.
According to the UK Telegraph, cryptocurrency is a form of digital money that is designed to be secure and in many cases anonymous. It is a currency associated with the internet that uses cryptography, the process of converting legible information into an almost uncrackable code to track purchases and transfers. The first cryptocurrency was Bitcoin, which was created in 2009, and it is still the best known. That's a look at national developments this evening. It is now 16 minutes on 7 o'clock. We'll take a break and come back with regional and international developments. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We thank you so much for joining us, those of you by radio and those of you joining us via Facebook Live. The Democratic National Alliance points a finger at the opposition UPP for being behind the publication of a photo of one of its candidates holding a shotgun. The Barbudan MP says there is no way he will remove his name from a foundation he created. Turning now to developments from across the region, the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association, CHTA, says it is encouraged by the strong demand for registration at this month's Caribbean travel marketplace, less than 6 months after Hurricane Irma and Maria plowed through the Lesser Antilles, dealing a severe blow to the region's tourism sector. The CHTA said that following a meeting in Puerto Rico last week, the demand among travel industry stakeholders to do business in the region was encouraging, given the continued interest and registration response for the annual event. CHTA Director General Frank Comito said plans for Marketplace 2018 to be held from January 30th to February 1st were now in the advanced stages, and that the association was on track to eclipse the 1,000 delegate mark before the start of the event. He said it speaks not only to the resilience of the Caribbean's bread and butter tourism industry, but also to the fortitude of the Caribbean's people. He said Puerto Rico, which was among Caribbean islands impacted by the 2 Category 5 hurricanes last September, is on the rebound and more than ready to host this year's edition of Caribbean Travel Marketplace. The CHTA said that an estimated 500 supplier delegates from more than 200 companies across 30 countries will join another 100-plus media representatives at this year's event. It said more than 200 delegates from close to 100 buyer companies, 19 of which are new to the conference, have so far registered for the event, and that buyer companies are expected from Argentina, the Bahamas, Brazil, Canada, Germany, Ireland, Italy, Jamaica, Japan, Mexico, Peru, Puerto Rico, Spain, the United Kingdom, the United States, and Uruguay. And there's still more than a week to register, Comito said. In an effort to attain 100% yellow fever vaccination coverage in Guyana for 2018, that country's chief medical officer, Dr. Shamdeo Prasad, proposed a joint effort between the government and Brazil, similar to the initiative between Guyana and Suriname. It was disclosed by Dr. Prasad on Friday during a visit by Brazil's Minister of Health, Dr. Ricardo Jose Managanes Barros, and his team to Minister of Public Health, Walter Lawrence. According to Dr. Prasad, Guyana was able to achieve 98% vaccination coverage for 2017, one of the highest reports for yellow fever. He emphasized the need to strengthen the relationship between the countries in order to ensure that the quality and standards are maintained. According to the Pan American Health Organization World Health Organization website, the yellow fever vaccine once administered is valid for life. However, the vaccines will be mandatory only for travelers moving between Guyana and neighboring Brazil, and for children that are less than 1 year old. However, it was advised the general public should also be immunized. It was highlighted that both countries have directed their efforts in strengthening and promoting immunization. The PAHO WHO had published a list of countries, including Guyana, which requires visitors to show proof of immunization before entry is granted. Additionally, Dr. Prasad addressed the issue of building Guyana's capacity to provide serum for snake venom. He mentioned the difficulties faced when treating patients suffering from snake bites by common predators such as the bushmaster, rattlesnake, and labaria. The serum for the three is produced in Brazil. The CMO said the government would like to see more development on the sharing of information regarding the manufacture of serum. The European Commission has provided 500,000 euros to the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, to support Dominica's education sector in the wake of the devastation caused by Hurricane Maria last September. About 1,500 primary school students will be targeted during the project. The powerful Category 5 storm severely impacted infrastructure across the country, including the education sector, resulting in over one-third of primary and secondary schools being listed as severely damaged. Access to schooling was disrupted for students across the board. Virginie Andre, EU Humanitarian Aid Coordinator for the Caribbean, says ensuring the return to school for children was a priority and providing pupils with the required material and supplies after losses due to the hurricane is key for children to resume their education. Although the vast majority of schools have now reopened in Dominica, there is a critical lack of teaching materials, supplies, and equipment. The EU UNICEF project aims to fill the gap. The 11-month project will target 1,500 primary school children in the 20 most severely damaged schools. Each school would get a library and a range of teaching materials, including textbooks and workbooks. A second component of the project sees the targeted schools being assisted in developing disaster risk management plans, which will help reinforce resilience in the face of any future crisis and ensure that children and their needs are at the heart of emergency-related action. Turning now to developments on the international scene, the United States government partial shutdown is set to end after Senate Republicans and Democrats voted to approve a temporary funding bill. Senator Chuck Schumer said Democrats would support the bill if Republicans addressed a program that shields young immigrants from deportation. Democrats refused to vote for the bill unless they secured protections for recipients of the Obama-era program. Mr. Schumer said the three-day shutdown was expected to end in a few hours. He lambasted President Donald Trump for failing to help reach a bipartisan deal, adding that he had not spoken with him since a meeting on Friday before the shutdown began. The New York senator said he was hopeful about talks on so-called dreamers, more than 700,000 young immigrants brought to the U.S. as children who were protected under the Obama-era Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals DACA program. Republican Senate leader Mitch McConnell said his party intended to consider legislation that would address DACA, border security, and related issues, as well as disaster relief. The Senate voted to advance the bill 81 to 18. Though the impasse is over, the upper chamber still has to grant final approval of the bill and send it back to the House of Representatives, where it is expected to pass. The continuing resolution provides funding to keep the government open temporarily in the hope that Congress can reach a permanent funding agreement before the February 8th deadline. The executive leadership of USA Gymnastics Board of Directors has resigned. It comes in the wake of the sexual abuse scandal involving former team doctor Larry Nassar, who has admitted assaulting gymnasts. Here's more in this report.
The chairman, vice chairman and treasurer have all tendered their resignations from USA Gymnastics. In a short statement, Kerry Perry, the president and CEO of the organisation, said that she believed the step would allow them to move forward and bring change. This follows intense criticism of the way the organisation handled the actions of its team doctor Larry Nassar.
A Catholic deacon accused of killing at least 10 people, including his own mother, has gone on trial in Belgium. Former nurse Ivo Pope is suspected of killing his victims by injecting air into their blood, causing a fatal embolism. The offences are alleged to have taken place at a clinic in Menin, where he worked as a nurse and later after being ordained in a pastoral role. Belgian newspapers have nicknamed the 61-year-old man the Deacon of Death. If found guilty of all the alleged murders, he would become one of the worst serial killers in Belgian history. Mr. Pope was arrested in 2014 after telling his psychiatrist that he had euthanized dozens of people. All of the alleged victims were elderly patients. He had, according to reports, initially made partial confessions during the investigation, saying he was acting compassionately for those who were terminally ill. However, he later retracted his statement and now denies the charges against him. Among those he is formally accused of murdering are several relatives. He murdered 2 great-uncles, his father-in-law, and his mother, the most recent alleged victim, who died in 2011. His mother had reportedly been suffering from depression, but her doctors have denied that she would have chosen to be euthanized. That's a roundup of regional and international developments this Monday evening. Stay tuned. The Weather Report is next.
Barbuda and its coastal waters out to 10 nautical miles, valid until 8 p.m. tomorrow, Tuesday 23rd January 2018. Moisture and instability associated with an approaching surface to low-level trough will continue to generate unsettled weather across the area. Skies tonight are expected to be partly cloudy, becoming occasionally cloudy, with a 60% or moderate chance of showers across Antigua and a 70% or high chance of showers across Barbuda. Tomorrow, skies are expected to be partly sunny, with a 50% or moderate chance of showers mainly before mid-afternoon. The winds will be east-northeast to east-southeasterly, ranging between 19 to 26 kilometers per hour or 10 to 14 knots. Sea conditions will be moderate with wave heights reaching 1.5 to 2.1 meters or 5 to 7 feet. Small craft operators and sea bathers should continue to exercise caution against above-normal sea conditions. Today, up to about 7 millimeters or 0.28 inch of rain fell mainly across the north and northeastern side of Antigua. At the airport, we recorded 4.4 millimeters or 0.17 inch. However, only about 1 millimeter or 0.04 inch fell across parts of Barbuda. As of 5 o'clock this afternoon, the total rainfall for the month of January recorded at the airport stands at 32.3 millimeters or 1.27 inches. The maximum temperature for today was 31 degrees Celsius or 88 degrees Fahrenheit, and the minimum forecast temperature for tonight is 22 degrees Celsius or 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Tomorrow, the sun will rise at 6:40 a.m. and set at 5:58 p.m. I am Letitia Humphreys from the Antigua Barbuda Meteorological Services at the V.C. Byrd International Airport.
Well, the weather report has brought us to the end of Point FM's nightly news for Monday, the 22nd day of January 2018. Just before we go, a recap of the headlines that made the news. The Democratic National Alliance points a finger at the opposition United Progressive Party for being behind the publication of a photo of its candidate holding a shotgun. Meantime, the DNA says it is satisfied with Caris Barton's explanation regarding the firearm and the party will move ahead with him. The Barbudan MP says there is no way he will remove his name from a foundation he created. The Caribbean Tourism Association encouraged by registration for this month's Caribbean Travel Marketplace despite the passage of hurricanes Irma and Maria. And the U.S. government's partial shutdown is set to end following the approval of a temporary funding bill. We thank you so much for joining us this Monday evening. Those of you joining us by radio, and we say welcome back and thanks for joining us to those of you on Facebook Live. On behalf of all of us here at Point FM, I am Phil George wishing you a pleasant evening and be sure to join me again tomorrow. Goodbye.